I have the honor and privilege to talk to Ralph Hubacher today. Ralph is the founder of a company called brandhub. How's it going, Ralph?
Hey, hello, Alessandro. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. We just met not too long ago, work related as well, doing some workshop work, and got postponed, of course. But I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to happen in October. But
Yeah.
I would love to get a little bit into brandhub. So tell me, or tell us a little bit more about what brandhub is all about. What have you been doing?
Actually, the fun thing is that we should have been in New York together just a few weeks ago, but because of the virus, we just meet on a Zoom meeting.
Almost as good as going to New York.
Almost. But as you say, we're going to go in October and having a good time there together. So BrandUp actually is a company with two fields. First of all, I'm doing a lot of trainings for talents, for leaders, and also for developing company culture. And the second part of BrandHub is the consulting part. There I do a lot of customer centricity consulting, so helping companies to build up strategies all around their customer and customer development. That's the main two things I do with the company.
Mm-hmm. So we definitely have a lot in common in that regard, and we noticed that already the first time we met in person. So I also do a lot of design thinking work, and I care deeply about what others are up to. And so I think this is probably why we get along so well. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about what's going on with your business, and how has the situation changed your business in the last few weeks.
Mm. I can give you an example. If I would see my company as a sailing boat, it was properly hit by a bullet, a big one. But I mean, the bullet can hit the mast, then you're out. It can hit the steering wheel, then you're out as well. Or it can hit you somewhere below the waterline, then you're going to sink. So I had a serious hit, definitely, but let's say the sail has a big hole in it. So it took me this corona bullet took me all the speed out of my business. But I'm not sinking, that's the good thing. I'm just slowed down, or it felt like a full stop more, but I'm still sailing. I can still maneuver the boat or my company. When it comes to figures, 80% of my business is gone. Either it's postponed or canceled. So for the next several months, there is not that much to do, because all the trainings, of course, they're canceled or postponed. There is still something on the consulting part, but this is by far the smaller part.
No, absolutely. It's so intense. This is why I decided to do this video series, because to the extent that I can, I would like to bring exposure to amazing small businesses like yours, because you do amazing work. And just because we are hitting a rough patch right now, it doesn't mean that this should end, or like the boat analogy that you brought up, that your boat should sink. And I think very often we realize that when I have conversations with people now, obviously predominantly online, I realize that there's not so much awareness what's going on in a startup or in a small business right now, and that a couple of months, like you were describing it, can really have a big impact, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so what kind of changes have you made?
Sorry, Pam?
What kind of changes have you made in the past couple of weeks? So have you, you're a very creative person. What are you planning to do in the next couple of months?
There are actually several things. First of all, as an entrepreneur, I tell to myself, do the homeworks when things are good. You don't actually you don't have to do the crisis scenario when you are in the crisis scenario. Then you have to act somehow. So I did the homework before. That means I was prepared. To be honest, my worst case scenario wasn't that bad. It didn't look as bad as it is now, but still, I'm properly prepared. Secondly, I always planned with very lean structure. So, of course, I'm going to reduce some costs and all that, but there aren't that many, or there isn't that many cost structure around that hits me so hard. You know, I don't have any credits or debts, not privately, not in my business. That helps a lot, of course, now at the moment. So the lean structure of the company, as well as the scenario that I always worked with, kind of scenarios that could happen, that helps me a lot at the moment. So, but when you ask what I'm doing right now, of course, I'm shifting it a bit more back to the consulting business, because this can be done right now easily. Second thing, what I have done first when all this lockdown and emergency measures were taken, actually the first thing I took care of was my clients. That was my first thought. What can I do for my clients? Because I know my company is safe for the next month. So what I did is mainly I was talking to my clients. I was listening about their worries, about their sorrows, about their problems. In many cases, I had some ideas. I could help them just with some thoughts. And I did some, let's say, some little things like, maybe it's just fun stuff, but I think it gave them a good feeling. As an example, when it all started, I took randomly 20 clients and I sent to each one of them a lottery ticket with a few words, you know, because there isn't that much that you can do. So they really liked it. The feedback was amazing. And there were a few people, they won some proper money. Well, let's say $50, $20, but still, you know, that's the thing I can do at the moment. It's to be here because they need me now, actually. They need me now. And so that's where I spend most of my time, shifting the business, but also be here for my clients. And we already had some good ideas together to bring their business forward.
I love this idea that you had with the lottery ticket. I mean, how cool is that? I think it's really, really nice. And it's also, you know, I can only agree with you. Like, a lot of people are currently going through these difficult situations, and they have hardships, and they have a lot of very heavy and difficult conversations. And if they realize, oh, wow, there's somebody there who doesn't only care about me, but actually, you know, calls me and even has a cool, fun idea, then it takes me out of this kind of like difficult situation, at least for a few minutes, and it gives me an opportunity to also maybe myself think a little bit more creatively and a little bit more deeply, and that definitely helps.
Yeah, and a few of them copied this idea for their customers, and they did some good for them, which is the coolest thing that can happen. And you know, I don't have any miracles or super recipes. You know, I mean, it is a tough time. But maybe for an example, one of my clients is a caterer, and of course, all the business broke away, so there is not that much to do. But what they started is with home delivery, like lunch meals, and they have, well, this was like rocket going on, and so they have several hundred deliveries each lunchtime. So their problem is that elderly people, they want to talk because they are very lonesome. So they want to talk, and there are people who are delivering the lunches, and they have to run. I mean, they have just a short period of time, and it breaks their hearts that they actually, they told me they put the meals in front of the doors, then they ring and then they run away, because otherwise, elderly, especially elderly people, they won't let them go and want to talk for half an hour, and they can't, and it really breaks them heart. So we were thinking of what we can do for these people. So what they're doing now is to print some short stories with good short stories or metaphors or just some good quotes, and do it, give it with the meals, because they can't talk, but give them some certain appreciation. And I mean, it's a tiny little thing to do, but that's what I call, that's customer centricity, you know. That doesn't bring you more profit at the moment, but definitely as a mid or long-term strategy, you do in many ways something good. It's a little tiny thing, but that's the ideas we talk about and then we develop. And of course, math goes on behind that, thinking of how this business can be developed, optimized when Corona hopefully goes away one day. So what can we do with that? And that's the other question, what comes up, and what can we do with these clients, these new clients? And so we go into new strategies, and that's just like 2 or 3 tiny little things, you know, that brings like a bigger stone to roll.
You just brought up so many different amazing points in just you know, in just a few sentences, in just a few minutes. You know, from, you know, being creative, unlocking creativity, listening to your customers. I keep saying it in all the interviews, but it's a common thread that I hear from all the startups. You know, you're being handed lemons, let's start making lemonade. This is just what's going on right now. You have an opportunity right now, and I'm really impressed by the things that you do, because this is exactly what, you know, what we always talk about when you are a small business, or when you are a startup or a company in general. Right now is not the time to lean back and hope things will, you know, go back to normal very quickly. It's very possible that this situation might last a little while. And so it's good to look at the signs and what's going on out there with your customers, and listen to them and help them. And it will help you bring new business opportunities to your doorstep very quickly.
Yeah, I'm completely with you, because, you know, right at this time, it's not the time for talking, it's time for doing. It's not the time for ego, it's time for sharing. And it's not about, oh, I need a big budget to do that. No, it's about creativity. It's about great ideas, because great ideas doesn't cost anything. They're for free. Therefore, that's the cool thing. Yeah. And I mean, Linus Pauling, the 2 times just have to think, just missed the word, Nobel Prize winner.
The Nobel Prize.
Linus Pauling said, the best idea is to have a lot of ideas. And he's right. You know, now it's time to test. It's not the time for perfection. It's time to experiment. You know, it's also not the time to do super sophisticated PowerPoint slides. You know, it's the time for quick wins. You know, and that's the time actually for entrepreneurs, or for intrapreneurs as well. When you're employed, you know, you can act as an entrepreneur anyway, because it's only a question of mindset in many cases, you know. And that's what I think. It's really to show entrepreneurship, you know, because it's easy to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur when the sun is shining and, you know, and warm weather and you feel so comfortable. Now it's really time. It's stormy time. Now, as a captain of your boat, you need to go on deck. It's all hands on deck now, you know. And that's what I believe in. It's really time not to wait until this thing goes over, because it's going to take a while. Until economy goes better. It's going to take us, I think, 2 or 3 years until we are back at a certain point. That's actually, well, I don't have a clue as anyone else, but that's just my expectation. I don't think in 2 months it's better. I think in 2 years it's maybe a bit better. So it's not the time to wait for motivation. It's time for self-discipline. Yeah, it doesn't sound so sexy, I know that, but it's now or never when you should do it, actually.
No, absolutely. And, there are opportunities out there. It's maybe not exactly what he had in mind before, but there are ways of doing business right now. And,
Absolutely.
but more importantly, and this is a point that I keep stressing throughout this entire series, yes, of course, you need to make money, you need to survive, and all that. And, I get it. But sometimes, and exactly like with this, with the business that you mentioned earlier, with the food delivery, sometimes these wins or these quick wins are much, much closer than you actually think. And you can actually, by doing very small gestures, you can actually start, creating some customer loyalty, and you can, take that to gain entirely new momentum. And I see it right now. There are businesses out there, and it's funny that you mentioned gastronomy as an opportunity, or, restaurants or food delivery as an
Mhm.
opportunity, because I see some restaurants that they're just locking down and they're waiting. And I see restaurants that are saying, okay, you know what, screw it, this is the time. I'm gonna sell pizza out the window, whatever it takes. I'll make it
Absolutely.
happen. And these are the guys that it's not. I'm not saying it's easy. It's definitely very tough, and it's not where it was, for sure. But at least you have a chance that your business is going to still exist in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one thing I said before, it's so important that you have done your homeworks before and
Mm.
not right now. When you
Yes.
already have been close to the cliff before, of course, maybe that's the end of the business. Then you have to start a new one.
Yeah.
But if not, if you have maybe if you've driven a bit more a safer strategy, then it actually should work out. You
Mm.
know, I mean, I lose a heck of a lot of money. I want to be very honest.
Mm.
It's not comfortable at all, but still, I see the chance in it. I want to do something, and I use the time. Of course, I have also more time than before, but that's how let's say how a creativity also starts. I have thousands of new ideas came in the last 3 days because I had some time to think about, and um, I want to get rid of them because it's just too many of them. But still, some of them I can share with my clients, with my customers, and I use also the time to write my blogs. I'm anyway writing my blog, so I write the blog, so I have them for the next couple of months. I restarted my podcast show. I was pausing it a little bit for almost half a year now. My interview guests have time. I have more time, so I'm going to produce more interviews with very similar to you, with very inspiring people. So that's the time for it. Now, it's other chances, of course. I don't earn any money with that, but on a short term, but mid or long term strategy. I also see it, Alessandro, I also see it as a bit time, or I try to reframe it during the design thinking business. So reframing or framing is an important part. I see it a bit as a time for investing. It's
Mm.
a time to invest in something.
Mm.
We didn't choose right now this month to invest,
Mm.
but that's how it is. So take it maybe as a time to invest in a better business, in new business model, and frame it differently. If you see it as a time to suffer, then you're going to suffer. If you see it as a time to invest, something else will come out at the end. Well, tough. It's anyway tough,
Yeah.
but the ending is a different, or the start point is a different one.
Absolutely. And the process will be entirely different for you as well. So,
Completely. Yes,
yeah,
it's a complete other mindset. It's a
yeah.
complete other mindset. It's a
And on
complete other.
that note, I think this is really strong. And I would like to end the interview on that note, because I think this is a really important message. And I really want to, send this message out to everybody out there. Ralph, you have brought up so many, important points. And I really hope that people watch this video and get inspired. I'm definitely inspired by you and by your energy. And I
Thank
very
you.
much, no, it's true. And I very much look forward to keep working with you. One last very quick question. What,
Sure.
what's the, when, just one sentence, what's the first thing you will do once you can go out and roam freely again, and you don't have to stay at home anymore?
Oh, I definitely need a proper haircut.
It's getting
No,
there.
No, kidding. Sorry, that was a joke. No, I'm gonna see my mom and dad and gonna hug them. That's the next thing I do when the situation is safer. Yeah, it's hugging my closest friends and especially my parents. That's the most important thing I miss most. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm totally there with you. Listen, Ralph, thank you so much again for taking the time. It was a really inspiring interview, and I very, very, very much look forward to seeing you again in person.
Thank you. I'm looking forward too, and we're gonna meet definitely before we see us in New York. But it's gonna be Zurich or whatever. Thanks for doing this interviews, and please go on. And I'm gonna watch all of them. It's really cool what you do. Thanks, Alessandro.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.